So do keep your thoughts coming in. The hashtag is Morning Express KTN. Now, Kenya Daima is currently holding a conference on electoral preparedness at the Intercontinental Hotel here in Nairobi. IEBC and the judiciary will be speaking on the issues relating to the elections. Let's cross over there and listen in.
He must now know what we feel sometimes, right? But this is a very good opportunity. Thank you so much, Kenya Daima, for this invitation. And I bring warm regards from Chairman Chebukati, who obviously would have wished to be here, but he's tied up in the office trying to put the final touches to our preparations for the elections. And I'm happy that there was no question asked about whether IEBC is ready for the election, because we obviously have proved that we are ready for the election. So I'm not going to go and answer that question now. But thanks again, Honorable Justice Mbogori, for highlighting for us the issues that the judiciary will be facing and reminding us that we'll be on the other side. We have already started preparing our responses to the various petitions because we anticipate that there are going to be very many coming our way. I'll just spend a few minutes going through some of the things that I have been seeing mostly on social media being asked. And I'll leave a majority of the time for us to show you how the biometric verification aspect of the KIMS works and maybe respond to questions from you rather than give a whole lecture, because I'm actually not very good at giving lectures. So I'll leave the lecturing part and then respond more to questions from all of you. I think one of the things that as a commission we have been trying to do is to look at the lessons of 2007, look at the lessons of 2013, and try and fix some of those issues that were seen during those periods of time. And I think one of the areas that we have focused a lot on is really training. I know you would have wanted me to start with technology, but it's actually training, because if we don't do the training, if we don't train our staff, then we'll have a repeat of some of the things that happened in 2013. So we've been investing a lot in training. We've had more than 6 different phases of training going on. We're actually having our training countrywide in all the counties, in all the constituencies going on, and will go on until the 4th of August. So we are continuing that. I just came from Eldoret, where we had about 6 counties together, training both on the elections, but also on voter education. I think one of the other lessons that we've been really trying to remind all our staff is the Election Offences Act, and reminding them that unlike 2013, when they could have gotten away with anything, this year the law requires that they be held criminally, individually criminally liable for anything that they do in the polling stations. And we've been trying to ensure that we remind them and ensure that in all the trainings, all the presiding officers are reminded of this. As I've always said, you know, the elections in this country are not really, the determination of the election is not by the 7 commissioners sitting in Nairobi. It's at the polling station. And the 360,000 staff that are going to be managing each of those polling stations are temporary staff of the commission. They're not our permanent staff. And what we've been trying to do is instill in them the integrity and for them to appeal to them to do the right thing when it comes to election day. And we'll continue appealing on them. What we have said to them on many occasions is that we've made helicopters available, by the way, and that if we start seeing trends of abuse in certain places, we will land in those places. Because the last thing we want to do is to put all this technology, invest a lot in technology, and have that technology abused, or invest a lot in all the material and have the election abused. So we have made it very clear to all the presiding officers, and we'll continue saying so, that we will land in each place. We are doing what we call ballot count, whereby at every intervals, 3-hour intervals, the presiding officers need to report to each of the returning officers how many ballots they have given. That must be consistent with the voter turnout as given to us by the KIMS kits. So if you find that in a place, the number of ballot papers already distributed at 9 a.m. are different from the number of the voter turnout, you really know then there's a problem going on there, and then you have to fix it before it gets worse. We are also doing what we know that the law allows us to use a complementary mechanism for voting, and we know that that can be abused. And what we are trying to do, we've put various measures in place to ensure that that complementary mechanism is not abused. And part of it is monitoring how many people you're having voting using the complementary mechanism when the technology has not failed. I'll explain what that means. Our system right now, as you will have a chance to show you, you are able to be identified biometrically using the kit. The analysis that was done by KPMG on the register shows that the quality of biometrics is very good. And the reason why we have every reason to believe that analysis given to us by KPMG is that they had outsourced the analysis of those biometrics to a competitor of Saffron. Saffron is a company that we use for the biometrics. So when you have a competitor judging and telling you that the biometrics taken by Saffron are very good, you have reason to believe that they are very good. So that gives us a lot of confidence. But also, when we did the biometric voter verification process for 1 month, that is from May 11th to June 9th, we realized that the accuracy was at 98.8%. So what we are saying to all our presiding officers is that we know from actually just that sample of having done that for the whole month, we know that we only expect less than 2% of Kenyans not to be identified biometrically. So if we start finding that in your polling station, all of a sudden, maybe from morning you didn't have anybody identified using the complementary mechanism, ati ikifika saa 10 ya jioni, all of a sudden you're having 50% of people in that polling station being identified using the complementary mechanism, then unajua kuna ukora hapo. So those are some of the things that we are trying to put in place, instill and remind them that we are aware that it's only at the most, 5% of Kenyans that might not be biometrically verified. And if anybody in any polling station has numbers that are beyond that, then we have measures of being able to address them. And we are reminding them that that is an election offense act, and we'll take the measures that are there in the Election Offences Act related to that. I know there have been a lot of questions asked about the register of voters. I'm happy that now the hashtag publish the register is gone. And now there's another one saying publish the register with ID numbers. See, I love my Kenyan people because you can never please them. You give it with ID, you don't have the register, people complain, you give it out, they want it with the ID numbers. Next they'll say you also need to put the telephone numbers. But we had reasons why we couldn't put the ID numbers out there. And I'm happy that we now have access. The register is accessible online. The register is accessible by SMS. The register is available in each of our 290 constituencies for any Kenyan to go and look at it. We are also going to be putting the register in each polling station 7 days before the election. We would have wanted to put it much earlier, but we need to have clearance, schools have to be closed, and other logistics related to that. So 1 week before the election, in each polling station, you will have the register published there, pasted in a public place for you to see. Then we've also been working hard, obviously, on issues of technology, and we've been testing the systems. We are confident that the tests that we have done show us that at least the pattern verification works very well. I have said before that we have challenges, obviously, or related to transmission, because in our country we don't have a lot of, the network is very poor. But we've partnered with all the 3 telephone operators, and we're working with them to ensure that we have coverage throughout the country, and in places where we don't have coverage, then we are using satellite. I know that I have been warned by I saw somewhere in the media yesterday, a very important stakeholder who managed the 2013 elections very well, warning us about pretending to be election experts. Of course, we are not pretending to be election experts. We are doing what the Kenyans expect us to do. We are doing what the Kenyan people gave us the task to do, of ensuring that Where there are loopholes, we try and fix those loopholes. Where there are problems, we try and explain to you where the problems are. And issues of technology are issues that we've been frank with the Kenyan people and say that on the verification, we're very confident that we'll deliver on the biometric verification of voters because we've tested the technology. But when it comes to transmission of results, obviously there will be challenges because of what I've just said, that the coverage, the network coverage is uneven throughout the country. We are trying as much as we can to ensure, especially working also with the Communication Authority of Kenya, to ensure that we have that coverage and we have the satellite coverage whenever we don't have 3G network. But other things that we've been working on beyond the technology, and we've tested the technology, as you know, 90% of the time with technology, you spend 90% testing the technology and 10% developing it. So it's something that we've been doing continuously and we'll continue doing so. We will have a session on the 31st of August where we do a countrywide transmission of the results to just make sure that we are confident that it's going to work. Other issues on logistics, I think we are, I don't want to belabor the point. We have all the material distributed in all parts of the country in places where the material has delayed coming from China. We've been able, where suppliers have delayed in bringing them from China, we've been able to get plan B. I'll give an example of glue stick, where the glue stick supplier has delayed, but we have glue sticks in Nakumats all over the country. So what we've done in things like those ones, when we have seen delays, we have quickly taken decisions and ensured that at the local level we are able to procure those things so that we have all the material by the time we have the election. I'll talk about one last issue that is obviously of great importance to us. That is the engagement with stakeholders, and that's what we're doing here today. I know again that some of us have been labeled vocal, some vocal commissioners, but obviously that is our job. Time criticize people for being vocal. We have a responsibility to explain to the Kenyan people what we're doing, and if we are going to be labeled vocal, so be it. But we have a responsibility to explain to the Kenyan people every step of the way, explain to them every aspect of the work that we are doing, explain to them what measures we are taking place, where we have challenges, and where we need the support of the Kenyan people. That is what we've been asked of, and that is what we'll continue to do. And so the engagement with the Kenyan people is beyond these media appearances. We are also meeting with all the political actors, the political parties at every level. And we are also scaling up our voter education program. I know we have challenges there. I know that we have delayed in terms of the commercials that we have on our television and radio stations. We have a constraint in terms of resources in that area because a lot of the funding for voter education had been included in the previous budget, which we were not able to utilize. And so now we are trying to come up quickly with funding within this new financial year, which was not budgeted for. So that is the challenge we've been having on voter education, and that is why you're not seeing us come out with as many commercials as we did in 2013. But it's something that we are working on, and we call on other people who are around here who might have the capacity that we don't have to help us out in terms of reach out on voter education. I think I'll stop there for now, and then we can respond to any questions as they come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosalind. Very much appreciated. We have an opportunity, and for those people, members of the press who have just arrived, we have a chance now to ask a few questions to these two very important stakeholders in these elections. And I've just had a short discussion with Justice Bogoli, and he has mentioned that he has to go back to court. So if you'll indulge him and we ask him a maximum of 3 questions, I think that will be very fair to him. He actually outlined the load that they have. It is huge, and the time is very limited, and they're still at work. So I will request members of the press who have any questions for the judiciary to direct 3 questions to Justice Bogoli,